And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Gita Rose, creative, intuitive vocal channel for Bella, an extra-dimensional human hybrid. Bella and Gita are able to offer a wide variety of perspectives and tools to help people connect to more of their own inner contract. Gita, thank you.
Contact. I'm sorry.
Contact. Oh, I apologize. Yeah, I misread that. Because I was going to ask you too about what is the contract that we're talking about?
Contact. So it's a kind of a fun play on words. And first off, thank you, Jeff, for having me here. I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much. One of Bella's favorite of mine phrases that she says is first contact is contact with self first.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. Of course, because, well, I guess we'll just like dive on in. I'm sorry, I just kind of like interrupted you because I was like, actually, no.
Contact. No, I like it. It's more natural and more real, you know, and it's, to me, more of a real conversation. And on that point, let's first talk about how you came into contact with Bella.
Sure. So I like to start a little bit with what, from my perspective, vocal channeling even is, or channeling itself.
Right. Yeah, because I don't know. I would consider all channeling to be vocal, wouldn't it be?
Not as we would define it. No. So channeling is a natural state. Channeling is actually our organic state. Anytime that we're doing anything that we love to do, and it doesn't matter, there's so many ways. It could be cooking. It could be making a podcast. It's also what modern areas of science and understanding are calling the flow state. And again, I want to say it this way, it's our natural state. So I'm going to go in and out and in and out and in and out a lot in this conversation. Yeah. So what it is that we are experiencing is a projection of our own consciousness. It's a dream. Our consciousness is not in our body. That's a lot of the times what we think. Yeah. Our body is in our consciousness. Everything that we are experiencing is a projection of our own consciousness. You're making your own universe, your own Milky Way galaxy, your own solar system, your own planet Earth, you, inside of your consciousness. Everything is inside of you. I am making my own universe. I am my own universe. I am projecting my own Milky Way galaxy, my own solar system, my own version of Earth inside of me. And then we are aligning with like versions. And there's over 8 billion of us creators that are universes, creating all of our own respective versions that are then having agreement-like enough contracts to interact with each other in a consensus reality. Yeah. So it's been very beneficial in how it's been explained for me, because I come in a background of theater. How it was shown to me in this way is that we can think of the experience of our human reality as it really is a type of play, but we're so meta. We are such masters of creating this experience of our limitation. We have completely forgotten that we're actors. So like, just to kind of break it down a little more, I don't care how meta you are. If you are in any type of movie or performance, there's still a part of the brain that knows I'm in a show. I'm acting right now. I'm making a projection. I'm making an experience. But again, we are so masterful, so powerful in our creation of this experience. Part of the experience that we designed to create is the complete forgetting that we're an actor in an experience. And I really like to draw the differentiation between acting and like performing, right? Because true good acting, you're not pretending, you're being. I will cite one of my teachers, Ray Verda from the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, who gave me a definition of acting that changed my life. And that definition is acting is honest response in imaginary circumstances. So going back to that idea that this is all a projection, this is all an experience, we are the actors in our show doing our absolute best to respond honestly in these imaginary experiences. And so the better that we can hold that perspective, the more present we are. So then life really becomes an improv experience. Our response is then yes, and we're literally, if we are allowing ourselves to fully, to the best of our ability, be our true selves, technically a way of thinking about it is we are in the state of channeling ourselves all the time. That's why I say it's a natural state of being. But again, Bella always phrases it this way. Bella of the Yael as well. I want to state that for people that are maybe listening, like, oh, we'll get into exactly who she is and where she comes from and all that.
So are you saying that you are in your own universe?
Yeah.
I'm in my own universe. And perhaps all the other actors in my right, and all the other actors in my universe right now, including you, are just part of my universe. And so my perception of everything, it's both.
Here's the thing, it's always yes and. That's why I was like, we're in the improv. It's yes and. It's yes and. Oh, what I was going to say, Bella always says there's no like condemnation, no judgment that we need to have, that a lot of us are not in our natural state. It's the experience that we're creating. It's the play that we're creating to be removed from our natural state so that we can remember who we are fully. And so most of us are in a place where we're operating from the physical mind. We're operating from, we might even say, yeah, we'll just call it the physical mind in that sense. The aspect of us that has agreed to experience conditions and limitations. We have a certain level of the way that we have been raised. There is a certain level of agreement to conditioning. But again, there's no judgment about that conditioning. That's the part that we have agreed to play. So we have something to bounce off of so we can remember what we are not. Just like any good improv, it's yes and. So yes, I am saying that what it is you are experiencing as your understanding of me is I am a projection of your own consciousness, but my consciousness is agreeing to create a projection of you as well. And somewhere we are actually meeting in the middle. So it's very nuanced, and we have to be able to hold that nuance moving forward, because then we can start to sway the pendulum in all of these different ways, and we get into toxic polarity of too much spirit, too much light, too much positivity, toxic negativity. We can go into places of taking too much responsibility for the other person, not enough responsibility for how we are affecting the other person, right? So it's really, really nuanced. But again, that's the whole experience that our consciousness is really going through, is expanding ourselves, being able to feel the voltage, withstand the energy of an actual quantum perspective in physical form.
Let me ask.
Paradox too. Yeah. We're utilizing, and I'll let you ask your question, but this might sink a little bit in. We're utilizing 100% of our absolute expansion to create the experience of limitation. We're masters, we're magicians, we're hypnotizing ourselves, we're putting a trick on ourselves all the time.
On the other side, do you believe that we are a higher self and only a filtered version of ourself is here present in this reality?
Again, it's a trick. So yes and no, it's all of our essence is here, but we're using all of our essence to create the experience of not being fully ourselves. And so that being said, okay, again, our physical form is light photons, right? Even physics is beginning to understand that within dense matter, there's nothing but open space, right? And so our physical form understands that as well. Our physical form actually knows that it is the dimension in which we think we are expanding to. Say that again. Our physical form knows it is already in the dimension that our physical mind is having the experience of expanding to. but we're not going anywhere. There's nowhere to go. Everything is right here, right now. That's another layer of this. It's the one is the all and the all are the one. We intellectually understand that, but now we're moving into the phase where we are like knowing that in our bones. So our body knows that it is this projection of our consciousness, of our light. And just like the unconditionally loving universe, the body says, what shall I replicate? What do you want to experience? What belief systems are you operating that then reflect what this consciousness needs to look like in matter so that I can have an experience? Again, just like the unconditionally loving universe, it knows, oh, this soul that is the extension of me, I am the extension of it, is desiring a certain theme of exploration. And again, it's unconditionally loving. It says, what shall I replicate? It's happening through us. So again, it's always both. The body knows, the heart knows, the soul knows. I'll also get into, I studied and understand different lineages of ancient Hawaiian understanding. So mahalo mo'oku a hao o mahat, mahalo mo'oku o hao hoe va'a. The na'au is the connection of our body, our gut with our heart. And so again, the body knows that it's light. The body has this, we'll even say indigenous cosmic perspective, right? Because it's one and the same, and we're all indigenous. So the body knows it's always connected to the higher soul spirit. Yeah. And the higher soul spirit, higher self, whatever label we want to put for that, your higher mind, your higher self, your oversoul, whatever we want to call it. Again, the place of the consciousness that knows it is a projection of the one, right? There's the aspect of our consciousness that knows it's never left that pinpoint of the nexus point of creation. That is the energy itself creating the voltage for the Big Bang, for the explosion, for the all right here, right now. That aspect of our consciousness, boom, boom, boom. I go like this because most people think of it like this, but it's all parts of our being. That aspect of our consciousness has never left our ability to be in connection to it. It's all right here, right now. And again, the body knows. And so the body is what is always receiving that knowing of that information. And then the body, the heart, the na'au, the pu'uvai, the heart translates it into the physical mind. But again, because of how we are agreeing to have a certain type of very limiting experience, most of us have very limiting belief systems, or are in this phase of dissolving and removing. Especially those of us that are kind of studying and remembering these fields, we're definitely in the process of removing a lot of the very subtle conditioning that leads to slightly misinterpretations of what the voltage, the higher mind, the higher self is actually sending. It's really so simple. It's so simple. I'm very verbose and like and animated in my explanation of it, in our explanation of it, but it's because it transmits an energy, how we present ourselves. I'm going to go into the we of the hybrid collective, how we present ourselves. I'm human. That's a big distinction. We can maybe get into that later. But we're laughing. We're dismantling all of these different misinterpretations to get back to the absolute simplicity of it. So what it is that I bring through is a type of vibrational emanation of more so how our consciousness is actually operating, and how each and every one of us is so unique in how that gets brought through, how important it is, because the one is the all and the all are the one. We are extensions of God. God doesn't know more than us. There is no universe that says, like a lot of the language these days, I'm just like, oh my God, the universe does this. The universe is doing this. The universe is telling me this. No, I love you. No, it's not. Take responsibility for yourself. You are telling you that. You are that powerful. You. All of us. And again, God doesn't know more than us. God needs us to go and explore and come back and make the unknown known, just like in the Seth materials. And creation does not make mistakes. It doesn't. So if we're having an experience of our manifested reality, it's because we are so deeply needed to be ourselves. And it's through the absolute embodiment of our brilliance, of our authenticity, that we become more of a collective and a union. So kind of going right all the way back to what it means to be channeling ourselves, right, in each and every moment. And how there's so many ways to enter into the channeling state, but again, to remember it. Our ascension, like people are talking about, we're not going anywhere. Again, we're relaxing enough back into our bodies. We're relaxing enough back into the planet. We're relaxing enough back into the absolute divine majesty that is this experience of planet Earth. There's nowhere to go. And the more that we're just present and in this flow of artistry and the yes and, that's when we figure out exactly how we respond to our essence. And sometimes it may be vocal channeling. There's always writing to connecting to different entities, because that's another thing too that I like to really make a distinction around as well, is any time that we're connecting to anything else, whether it be an ancestor, whether it's someone like Bella, who is in a different society, an extra dimensional society, whether it's a collective, it's always, and again, this goes back to the power of ourselves. It's always a co-creation, always. I understand when people say, oh, I get out of the way, I'm not involved in it anymore. That's not true. Take ownership for how powerful we are. Please, please, I beg you. Our physical mind, our belief system is always involved in it, always. The information, just like I was saying, is passing through. And then what it is that we are experiencing is a third entity. 1 + 1 in this case makes 3. And the beauty of that, and so when someone is connecting to anything, it's always a third entity that's being created. And that is literally to be kind of said with anything. Even if someone is they're channeling their authentic improv in the moment of being their best selves, is cooking a beautiful meal. They're taking the essence that is the ingredients of themselves, of their consciousness. Like, oh, the beautiful snack that they is of the universe that they are. Ooh. And then they're tuning into that meal that's already in existence. Everything is here and now. They've already made it. And it's its own frame of reality. It's its own beautiful offering. And they begin a dance. And that person and that meal and the experience of the meal, the eating, the enjoying, the savoring of it, it's a frame that exists. And then it becomes this beautiful dance as they're in the motion of creating it. And then what is birthed is a third entity. And it has so much magic and so much power. And it is structured in the sacred expression of the geometry of creation itself. Pretty cool. So yeah, I was always connected to the other world, to spirits on the other side. The first apparition that I ever had contact with and met was actually Yeshua, Christ consciousness. Had a very specific encounter with him. That basically he told me what I was saying, what I was here to say was, I am like you. There is no differentiation. That's what I was here to say. And then I had contact with my grandmother very shortly after I really like the Olelo Hawaii word, which is hala, after she transcended, after she went back into spirit. And I saw her, it was an apparition. And then I was always very connected with the elemental energies. I was aware of the idea of extraterrestrials and UFOs, kind of like from like different TV shows, and but it was something that I was not interested in. It was very much I've explained it in this way. It was like blinders. It was like blinders were on to this level, different realm of spheres of reality, different spheres of dimensions. I then met a friend of mine who gave me a psychic reading. And she said, it was the first encounter I had with any type of psychic. And she said, wow, you have all of these aliens in your space, all these ETs in your space. And I was like, what do you mean, like my space? And she's like, oh, your auric field, and you have all these agreements. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. I was like, aliens? And she's like, yeah. And in that moment, it was like, boom, it dropped in. I was like, oh, of course, aliens are real. That's been one of the most interesting characters involved in human history. Oh, of course, I remembered it. Jump to a couple of weeks later, I was with the same friend of mine. And at that time, I was not partaking in cannabis at all. It always put me in really weird altered states. But places of meditation, connection that I didn't understand, like transcendental meditation. And so I never partook in it. But at that time, I had actually begun more traditional meditation, and I was opening up to these different layers of reality. And I experienced things in traditional mindfulness meditation that were very similar to the state of cannabis for me. And I kind of started to remember, oh, I'm speaking with divinity. Okay, this is cool. I like this. And so my friend, we were hanging out, and she offered me to smoke some cannabis. And I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. So I took one really good, strong hit, and it shot me out into this completely different realm. And when I was in that state, I went through a couple of series of invitations and initiations from different levels of a larger collective. I will also say, Mahalo Kihavahine, who is a mo'o goddess, a dragon goddess that's really important to the people of the Hawaiian kingdom, especially right now. So that energy was present 13 years ago when I was in this level of initiation. I then was able to alter myself through the fear enough of this revelation of this energy to get to a space of calm, essentially. And then I was aware that I was speaking while also getting my own invitation. There was messages that was being given to me that were very different than what I was saying. And I was very comfortable, so comfortable with this kind of split experience of consciousness, because it reminded me of being in musical theater, and like you have your song like down, like everything's pat and it's good, and it's not a state that you want to be in, but you go on like autopilot and you're like singing and you're like doing the thing and the stuff's coming out, but like your mind is going and you're like, oh, but I didn't have enough for dinner, or like, oh, that boy in the third row is like kind of cute, and like there's this split experience. I was very comfortable in that space. And then very comfortable in learning how to be like, oh girl, like come back. Like, what's your objective? Like who you in this moment, come back. So it wasn't frightening for me at all when I was experiencing this. And I had no understanding of vocal channeling. I had not heard anything of vocal channeling. I didn't know it was a thing. And it was this invitation, this very loving, very precise energy that said, you have an agreement and it's time for you to begin, if you would like to begin that agreement. And we will share with you that we are what you would understand. We will say in this now, we are a version of extraterrestrials. And this is how we make contact with planet Earth. We utilize biological telephones for a variety of different reasons, essentially so the heart can be felt. And so there is far less of an opportunity for mistranslation. they also shared with me in that moment, we're not going to sugarcoat it either for you. This is going to be kind of weird and challenging. But at the end of the day, we can guarantee for you that this was their precise wording. We can guarantee for you that you will know that magic is real. And they also said, you will have the ability, and we encourage you to re-choose and re-choose and re-choose this agreement. You are always part of the negotiation of this agreement. But the intensity, the love, the presence, the awareness of this, I was like, sign me up. Like, yes, whatever is happening, this feels awesome. And at that time, I'll share too, I had made a really big pivot in my life. I had turned down the opportunity to be in a Broadway show, which I thought was my full trajectory. When I was offered this show, I had a moment of full presence, and I literally heard, your next line is no. I won't go into all of the reasoning as to why. But for me, it was very clear, whoa, I have a different path. So in this moment, when this new revelation came in, I was like, got it. This is the role that I play. Like, this is really fascinating. And then I came out of the altered state, and my friend was aware of what vocal channeling was. Like I said, she was already psychic. She was kind of like in this world. And she had been asking the energy questions because she was very interesting for her. And so I come out of the state, and she goes, okay, so that's called vocal channeling. That's a thing. I could feel that you were like, something was definitely, that's the thing. I see you. I understand what's happening. She's like, did you receive like the invitation for an agreement? Yeah. Do you know where they're from? This, that. I said, no, I don't know anything other than no. And she goes, okay. The energy and how it came through was very similar to another channel that is already in existence. And I would recommend that you go and check out this channel. I will not cite the name of the channel. It's one of the more well-known channels. I will just say it is not Abraham Hicks. Aveo ili avo e anana natado. So I was shown that there really is a pre-existing lineage, foundation, and teaching of this very precise perspective. And indeed, when I listened to this particular channel, I remembered something that I had forgotten, as I've explained it before. I know it sounds like a riddle, but that's just how it felt. It felt like instant family and knowing and connection. And it was also instant validation for me. Something is happening. This is very real. I then, shortly after that, got in contact with that particular channel. And he told me, I see you. This is happening for you as well. Let me know if you need anything. And for a number of years, this person was a type of mentor until it was time for us to really embody and explore, and for me to really step into more of my respective journey in this. And it took quite some time for me to meet Bella. At first, it was just an energy. Even in the time where I was in this connection with this other mentor, with the channel, I didn't know what, because it's a wide canon. When we get into these different ideas of this precise hybrid lineage, which I can say is the Sasani and the Yael. The Yael is a very precise lineage of extra dimensionals that say they are genetically connected to us. And there's a few, I will say it in this way, again, Aveo Ili. There are a few channels that came about at the same time, in kind of like the late 80s, early 90s, into the 2000s. There was this bubbling of quite a few different people all over the world connecting to this very precise hybrid lineage of the Sasani. And so again, there was this net of safety this net of just absolute observation and assurity. Already the reflection got really clear, but I didn't know for quite a while what the entity really was. I didn't know who it was. And it took some time just for me to practice, to learn how to get into the state without the activation of cannabis, to allow different aspects of my physical mind to really relax. Because also that's always one of the primary focuses of this very specific type of vocal channeling. And again, as I was going back to the idea of it's always a trinity, any form of channeling, the real like foundation, the purpose of it in a way is for the self to be altered, is for the self to be refined, for the human vessel to become that simulacrum of these energies that are already a part of us. Just the way that we're remembering it. So I spent a lot of time getting used to the energy and just learning how to channel and being comfortable enough to ask friends to go, hey, just like want to ask some questions and like see what happens. And it wasn't until I got the invitation in dreams and synchronicities to go to the Hawaiian kingdom to live and stay. And I lived in Moku'oke'awe, which is the Big Island, Hawaii Island. And it wasn't until I was there that I actually met a friend that was also following the same teacher, this other same channeler that brings through the Sasani being. And I was like, yeah, you should come. You want to meet. I channel too. You want to meet her? I don't know who she is. But in that moment, I began this slow titration of understanding who Bella is. So now we are at just about exactly 13 years later from that original invitation from the energy of the collective of the hybrid lineage family. And I now understand that Bella is a representative of the Yael, which, to simplify, is one of the more recent versions of more recent generations of this hybrid program that is more closely connected to us, to our genetics. And Bella has also decided to bring through, and in combination with, again, my desires, my oversoul, and our really strong connection with the primordial energy of planet Earth herself, Bella now has a really interesting perspective and a beautiful return to a more organic understanding of what human really even is, and takes a certain level of ownership around these different gray hybrid agenda programs, and is able to present things in ways where it's always showing the importance of story, is able to remind us that, and how we utilize theme and allegory, again, to get in the contact with the self rather than getting lost in the details. Bella and I are very strongly connected to different aspects of the Hawaiian kingdom, of Kanaka Maoli, of also indigeneity. I am part indigenous Chichimeca, what is now Mexico. I have friends in the Lakota tribe. So it's been this really beautiful return back to a very organic, very indigenous-based way of looking at our connection, our innate connection with the cosmos. And Bella's starting to bring through information that is different than these other channels. But again, that's part of the beauty of being able to offer all of our own versions of channeling and all of our unique necessary qualities. So she exists currently now in a dimensional overlay, in a dream density of planet Earth, a dream density that has always existed and is a dream density that we are moving towards. They do have some ships. And again, I really like to stress so much that it's so important, and Bella really goes into this too. It's so important for us to really be able to hold two opposing truths is true. That there's the reality where, like, this is very, very real. I've seen the ships, I've touched her, I've met her. And also, how do we utilize this if this is just a story? How does this actually help us? How does this information get us landed in our bodies? How do we perhaps stop talking about spiritual concepts so much? I love what you're doing and thank you. But how do we embody it? How do we like go into what is true? And what I've been shown is by actually paradoxically letting go of the details and so deeply diving into the themes and the symbolism and the understanding in an archetypal way through story, because that's how we learn, that then awakens our connection to the all and the everything within us. So I just like to stress kind of, because a lot of the ways that she brings information through is very much rooted in story and kind of fancy, even though there is absolute science that backs it up as well. So she exists in a dream density overlay that is deeply connected to the heart of Gaia, deeply connected to all of the preferred timeline preference of us as individuals as we remember ourselves back into ourselves. There's also a level of the larger lineage canon where there are hybrid children, which is like the most recent generation. And she says that she is a stewardess of many of these hybrid children. And so we can think of her as a type of governess or guidance counselor. Her energy is extremely feminine, very loving, very similar to mine. We're meeting each other again. What I am, especially in this setting where I'm like, oh, people are listening to me. I am a simulacrum. I am a blend happening right here, right now. So she and I learn from each other as we deepen into the connection of our primordial feminine archetype. That is the leader. And we are all 100% masculine, 100% feminine. This goes back to indigenous understandings. And we've been talking about this for a long time. We know that we're moving into an age where we are allowing the feminine to rise within all of us, within each and every one of us, so that we can come into a balance. Yeah, we don't want a patriarchy. We know that. We also don't really want a matriarchy. We want unification. And so that unification starts with us. And so she utilizes a bit of costumes. She dresses to which she presents herself to us in kind of a Victorian era, which I won't get too much into this today, but because I've cited stuff, her costuming and the way that she presents herself, and she brings a signature frequency that is honoring the Hawaiian kingdom, honoring a very specific era of the Hawaiian kingdom. Because it's a level of story that basically, once certain stories are understood in any ways that we are inspired to understand story, always leads us back to our innate sovereignty within, with our innate kingdom, queendom within, again, with that innate unification within. And she likes to play with different ways of making an extra dimensional more human. And so she talks about having interest in our culture. And that's why there's kind of this aesthetic that's very almost kind of like, again, like steampunk or tea time, very rooted in nature and very much honors aspects of our history. Again, so that it's transmitting a heart translation of something that, from her perspective, how she and I are choosing to refine ourselves is offering a vibrational emanation of a theme that can really help individuals come into deeper aspect of their true contact with self.
Do you think Bella is actually you existing in this dream density simultaneously with you existing here?
No. So thank you for the opportunity for this clarification. I love these kinds of questions. No, she is her own being. She is connected to what I refer to as the oversoul. What has been shown to me is the oversoul. So this goes back to the idea that the one is the all and the all are the one, and everything is here and now. It's all one large oversoul. And then it fractals itself out, and it goes into different. It's one, then it becomes two, and then it becomes third. And then that third fractions out. We don't need to get into all of the detailed math of it, the geometry of it. It doesn't matter. It's just the idea that everything is here. And this is another indigenous Hawaiian way of explaining it, is looking at the weaving of something. That's another image that I can give for what creation itself looks like. Yeah. Or we can also think of like a tapestry, right? The tapestry that makes this beautiful picture. But then you look behind the tapestry and like, oh, bro, there's all these like gnarly lines behind it and all these like interweavings and all these threads are connecting, right? But each thread is its unique thread, but they can be coming from a similar part of the picture. And those threads are touching and weaving. Now they're making up the same pattern, the same tapestry, but they're maybe not touching just because of relevancy. They're maybe not touching or connecting to parts of the thread and the weaving that are all the way over here. It's another way of thinking about an oversoul, right? Another way of thinking about it is it's all one tree. We're all one beautiful tree. The roots are doing their own thing. We're just going to look at the leaves and up above. And again, loose metaphor here, loose allegory. Stay with me. So it's everything is a tree. And then on a tree, there's usually the trunk, the one. And then we got big, strong branches that go into sub branches, little twigs, right? And you can like zoom in on a part of like the smaller branches of a tree, right? And you go, oh, we got like a little cluster here. And there's this that's coming off of here and this, right? And when you zoom in, that's what we might loosely call like an oversoul. But each leaf is its own unique extension of source. So when we exist, because everything is here and now, there's many more than 5. But when we exist, I'm always going to be me. Bella's always going to be Bella. We'll say Judy Garland's always going to be Judy Garland. I'll give you a little secret. We'll say Ninlil is always going to be Ninlil. We'll let you keep guessing with the other ones, okay? But that's coming from the same oversoul. But I'm always going to be me. I am my unique signature frequency energy. This is another thing that gets into the misnomer of reincarnation. It's not actually happening that way. We can, not the quantum perspective of it, not the actual mechanics. We can have the experience, for sure, just like we're having this experience. We can have the experience of seeing things in a linear way, but we're creating that linear interpretation. That's not the physics of it. So I am uniquely, signaturely me. And even when I cross over, there's still going to be the aspect of the Gita that is my frequency. Again, creation is not complete without me. Creation is not complete without you. Creation is not complete without Bella. So we are versions of the same, we are aspects, extensions of the same oversoul that have agreed to interweave and be able to be in contact with each other to help further refine each other and to help the further overall weaving of that tapestry. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's different than how we're used to thinking about it, especially as these different new age misnomers get perpetuated.
I was just wondering because ultimately we all are connected at some point.
Of course.
So since we all are connected, that makes it easy for you and Bella or any other channeler to, for the channeler to communicate. I'm trying to get those words, the channelee and the channeler, but Bella to communicate through you. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why usually in these very precise agreements, and I would venture to say too, especially with really any of the ones that we kind of, and anyone that's really doing it maybe in this very particular way, where they have a name, they have an understanding, or even if it's like a loose and very potent, powerful understanding of a larger collective, right? There's people bringing in all of this, really amazing, different dimensional awareness stuff. Absolutely. I would say that what is allowing it to actually occur is because they are coming from some level enough of the same little chunk of the tapestry, or they have oversoul connections. Absolutely. And it makes it really efficient. And it also then makes it so that it's refining that particular aspect of the archetype. Every aspect of that oversoul gets affected and changed by the agreement.
I understand that you and Bella are completely different frequencies, but in being in contact with her for 13 years, you have to have changed dramatically as a person. How have you changed?
Cool question. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And we both have changed, which is neat. It goes both ways. I affect her as much as she affects me. And they say again and again and again that we learn from you as much as you may choose to learn from us. It's really so deeply mutual. I suppose the main thing is that I now see things, not all the time. I got to remind myself, and I'm in different types of initiations and mentorships within my own being, and I utilize the tools and how Bella presents reality. I'm in my own meditative process of coming back to myself all the time, but more and more I am living from the perspective of looking at the mechanics of creation rather than being in the experience of the illusion. And I was laid a foundation for a very long time to be able to have that perspective. And my life has really kind of been like the perfect storm to set me up in the most appropriate way so that when this agreement was the appropriate time, I would be prepared. And then to be able to take that agreement and go even deeper into connecting to archetypal energies and connect deeper to these indigenous wisdoms. My mind would have not have had the ability to do it and kind of stay sane if it wasn't a very slow build and titration of really starting with my ancestors. So hello, Diane McClellan. Thank you. She was my grandmother. And then it's my ability to be in this state expanded since childhood. And then I also really always like to thank my parents, honestly, because they encouraged my love of theater. And I know I'm not really answering your question, but I think it's so important to go. We can be equally as affected and expanded by our experiences in our physical reality. And not just all of this extra other stuff. Because it's all this stuff. To be in a space of play, of exposure in theater, and to know that I'm going to be met with beautiful reflections, with openness, with love by expressing myself. My brain was wired differently as a child. I think so many people are shown the opposite reflection. That if they express themselves, if they're authentic, they're told to be quiet. They're told, hey, that's not enough. In theater, you can never be too big. In theater, they're going to take the kid that's not afraid to be super over the top, and they're going to go, okay, now we're going to, in a lovingly way, we're going to just kind of help you shape it. So my brain has been wired differently to be able to then withstand the channeling, and then to be able to go into these extremely mystical states, connecting with the indigenous ancestors and the Hawaiian kupuna. But the main thing, just to be more precise as much as it can be, and just answering your question in a simple way, the main thing is being able to see things again from a perspective that is outside of the illusion, being able to look at the mechanics, because that's where they're coming from. The Sasani and the Yael in this very precise hybrid lineage is looking at the mechanics of reality in an extremely objective way. And they are able to land and help us integrate. And as the OG channel has said, literally like bring it down to earth, to bring these metaphysical concepts down to earth. So that's been the number one thing, is that I operate in a place that is, again, I cannot say it enough. I am looking at the structure, and I am remembering why it does loop back to theater. I know that I'm an actor in an experience. I'm not completely caught up in the rigidity of what I think my character needs to be. And it's a gift. And it's something that is all of our organic perspectives. It's something that we all have the ability to do.
I wonder if the average person would take some acting lessons and actually performed in a play or two, would it result in some kind of spiritually transformative revelation for them?
I think it absolutely depends on the person, but I also think it's absolutely possible. Yes. Or being able to, and again, this is what my Hawaiian teachers tell me: share, 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 share. So in any way that we chose to expose ourselves, right? Because I'll break it down like this. My sacred space within myself is I call emergence. Emergence. Emergence is actually a term in physics. It means the process of exposure from one's self from the whole. Emergence, the process of exposure. And so when we allow ourselves to be exposed to ourselves in any way that means, right? It might, for someone, it might be that it's their intrinsic joy to go into a play. It might be that they want to take music lessons, dancing lessons. It might be that they want to have a conversation with their spouse in a way that they've never had before. The more that we allow ourselves to emerge into ourselves and to expose ourselves, what it's literally doing is repatterning our brain. And this actually loops perfectly into, I'm going to go on, if it's okay, a little bit of another long monologue. Okay. So this is the foundation of the teachings of this very precise hybrid lineage. And that is the idea of what Bella refers to as the intrinsic formula. And what that means is, from their perspective, what I'm about to share is all that we need, in combination with a couple of other ideas that maybe I'll lay down for you nice, fast as well. But this really is all that we need to continue to navigate our most preferred realities and to continue to remember who we are. What I'm about to share is really nothing that we don't already know. We're already talking about all the stuff that I'm about to share, but it's about doing our best to feel the logic of the space of observation. Because what it is that they're saying is, this is physics. This is the operational mechanics. And that's why you all already are talking about it, because you already know it. But again, there's this beauty of being able to feel the resonance and then understand through our intellect and translate, oh, that's because it must be in aspects of physics. I feel it because it's physics. Whoa. And then from there, we're able to integrate and really develop actual intelligence. So the idea is the intrinsic formula, number one, to respond to our intuitions, our instincts, to really allow ourselves to know what feels good to us, and to take the action on whatever we can, responding to ourselves, to take whatever action we can that is the reflection of that true aspect of ourself, to follow our hearts, right? Follow your bliss. Now, there is a lot of nuance in this, though, because again, going back to the part we decided to create for ourselves, we've decided to be really conditioned so that we could uncondition ourselves and love ourselves unconditionally. A lot of us don't really know what is our true joy, what is our intuition, what is our instinct versus what is our conditioning, what is our obligation, what is our anxiety. But the beauty of this physics is that it doesn't matter. The process of becoming is the whole point. That as long as we're doing our best to drop, to sit, and to go, okay, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? What actually feels good in my body? Does sometimes doing the really integral, really intrinsic, inspirational things sometimes feel a little uncomfortable? In what ways am I preventing myself from following my true joy, my true excitement, right? Really deep as much as we can, and we build that muscle. of getting clearer and clearer and clearer what our true actions really feel like. Okay, so that's step one. I know that's a lot, but it's the whole process. Step two is we commit to it. Like once we've gone like, oh, okay. And I mean, here, I want to clarify as well too. I mean, in each and every moment. A lot of the times when people hear follow your highest excitement, they get a little confused and it means, oh, I got to quit my job and I'm going to move to Bora Bora and I'm going to like do all these big things out here. Following your intrinsic joy, responding to your intrinsic self in every moment can mean knowing that your next action is to breathe. And to go, okay, I can eat food. I can go on a walk. I'm supposed to go to work tomorrow. That's okay. How do I honor my belief systems? It means in each and every moment to really slow down our experience, because again, going back to the one is the all and the all are the one, and there's nowhere to go. It's only here. There's only one moment. Whatever we are doing right now in the power of now, right? Again, we already know all this stuff. We know it. And it's the whole beautiful process of refining. And then that step two is to really be in the presence of like, wow, I'm so present with myself, and to really commit to the action. And then if our joy does have like a larger, if we've been inspired by a larger idea, we take all of the steps that we can do, right? We let it build. We go, let it all build until it's either kind of run out of excitement for us. We feel inspired by something else. We've been presented by a type of roadblock, whatever it is. Take it as far as you can and enjoy the process. Like, know that you're learning yourself. Enjoy it. Step three is to do our best to be in a state of absolute non-insistence. This is a really challenging one for most of us. But again, if we really feel and understand the physics that there's only one moment, and whatever I'm choosing to do in this now is the only thing that matters. Again, allowing ourselves to more and more and more coming back into our true space of emergence. We know that there's only the one moment. And we know that innately our essence doesn't care what's going to happen next. Because our essence is just fully enjoying this experience of the one moment. And our true essence knows that reality is not happening to us. Again, you're your own universe, I'm your own universe. Our true essence knows that reality is happening through us. So that any frame I align myself with is there to some degree for me to learn something. But again, it's about understanding that logic that my true essence, my true state just wants to be my real self, to be my joy, to be my inspiration, because why would I want to be anything else? And so when we really understand that space, it actually makes it really easy to not be in any insistence. And we can begin the further intellectualization of knowing that, yeah, to some degree, you might have a desire. There's nothing wrong with desire. Again, that's an old kind of teaching. I think we've moved beyond that at this point, but there's nothing wrong with desire. Desire is always going to exist. It's insistence on how the desire needs to look that creates the suffering. And to know, okay, I might have a desire. I might have somewhat of an expectation of what I want to happen. But again, this goes back to being able to differentiate between the details of an experience and the theme, the energy of the experience. So maybe I'm knowing that like, oh, I'd really love a partner. And like, oh, I want it to be like this at this time, this, it's going to look like this. Okay, get rid of the details and feel that energy. What is that? How do I come into that partnership within myself, right? That's just one example of like, how do we utilize the energy of our desires, the energy of a level of our expectation to continue the motion of our exploration, while again, knowing very deeply that reality is always happening through me, for me. And wherever I am is going to be what I need. So that's step 3, being in non-insistence. Step 4, if we're really being in non-insistence, it's really easy to be in step 4. And step 4 is being able to be in an integrative response with whatever is happening. And again, building upon it, if we know that we are just being our true self, because why would I want to be anything else? Reality is happening through me, for me. I'm present. I'm understanding the structure of reality more and more and more as it's happening. Then it's going to be my natural intrinsic response to utilize whatever is happening for my integration. We also like to be really specific with this as well. This does not mean, and this is kind of a common misnomer of like positive vibes, positive emotions, respond positively. No, that's not what that means. It means if something is happening that appears in your reality and it brings something up within you, have an integrative response to your honest emotion first. It's not about feeling good all the time. It's about getting good at feeling. Because a lot of the times what's going to happen is as we continue to follow our full self, to be our full self, to respond to our intrinsic nature, we're going to align with things that are a little uncomfortable or very uncomfortable. Because that's the refinement process. That's the tension. That's the compression that's making the diamond. And again, if we're remembering that, oh, I know that I'm a master, I'm utilizing the power of paradox to create my reality. I'm never going to align with something that is not there for my benefit. I'm never going to give myself more than I can handle. Whoa. And so then every aspect of our reality becomes this opportunity to utilize that voltage of the response, our emotions, our energy in motion, to understand our belief systems. Because when we respond to something, we're going into an emotion, right? So the energy in motion that we interpret as particular feelings is inherently neutral. It's just energy. Energy in motion is neutral. It's when it passes through belief systems that we interpret that specific energy in motion as a particular feeling. So, simple example, the energy of excitement and nervousness, it's the same energy. It's just being filtered through different belief systems that then create the interpretation. And so we develop the ability to feel our emotions and to, again, remember to the best of our ability, oh, this is an experience. I'm an actor in a show. How do I choose to respond to this? How do I utilize this energy and motion to go, oh, what must I be believing in these denser conditioned belief systems? What different belief systems must I have to create the filtration that is giving the translation of this particular energy and motion? And again, utilizing the ability of paradox, we can always find different ways to interpret that energy. We are so accomplished in polarity, we can oftentimes see, oh, I have simultaneous belief systems that are completely contradictory because we're amazing. And we then understand and identify the belief that is choosing to have the third density experience, that's feeling this energy as nervousness, okay? Then we choose to identify and see, oh, I can also see, that makes sense logically, how that energy and motion is also excitement. That interpretation is coming from the integrated beliefs. This belief says, I'm not safe. This belief says, I know I am safety itself. And we say, oh, hi. Yeah, I see you. Let's negotiate. Let's talk. How do you feel? Do you trust me? Puppet actor. Do you trust me? She's like, oh, yeah, you feel good. Okay. Come with me. Let me show you. Because it's only through physical action that part that has been experiencing third density, it's only through physical action of us acting from the new belief systems that the physical reality changes. We never change the reality that we're on. We change ourselves, and then the physical reality changes. Because again, everything is happening through us, for us. It's all an illusion. And it needs to be integrated. There's different judgments, weights of that belief that need to be let go. But it needs to be integrated. It needs to be taken on the journey. So again, step one, we do our best to be our best selves. Because why would we be anything else? Number two, commit to it. I'm going to say it like that. Have fun with yourself. Love it. Take things as far as it can. Number three, no insistence, because you understand. Insistence is nonsensical. We get it. Number four, integrative response. Already, we're building. We're there. We get it. Number five, find your belief systems. Choose the belief systems that you prefer and be that version of yourself. And that's all we need from their perspective. Boom, 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 boom. And it just keeps turning back in on itself. And that's how we refine ourselves and essentially relax and remember ourselves back into who we truly are. So thank you very much for receiving that and allowing the transmission of the core teachings of the hybrid lineage.
Before our conversation today, I was checking out your YouTube channel, and I think I only saw one video of channeling there. Is that correct?
No, there's more.
There's more? Okay.
Yeah, it's just that the way that I represent Bella has kind of changed throughout the years. So yeah, if you just kind of scroll through and down, there's quite a few kind of snippets of her there. And then also I have been sharing more on the social media, like different like short recordings and reels and stuff like that. And I'm actually really excited to share and announce, if I may, I have a really fun package, which we're calling it a constellation companion, because a constellation is, of course, constellation in the skies, but it also means a bundle of something. So we have a sweet bundle that we are presenting for the season. We are in autumn right now, but also hello, happy spring to the Southern Hemisphere. But it is a series of 3 events with Bella. That's going to be October 21st, and then November 18th, and then December 15th. It's all Saturdays. I believe I have those days correct. And that's going to be a really fun way to be able to connect with Bella's energy, to meet her. She's going to be sharing stories directly from her perspective, meeting earth totem animals and how their messages and themes aided her in her advancement of an extra dimensional delegate. There's also going to be ample time for questions and reflections, dialogue, communication, continuation of the ceremonial contact that is underway. So that's one aspect of the package that is included. And then another aspect is going to be 4 weekly calls with me, where I share in greater depth, because as you can see, I have so much. There's so much that I could just talk about, keep talking. So I've recently realized the importance of sharing all of our personal stories and the beauty that comes from stories. So another part of the Constellation Companion package is what I have entitled Mystic Transit. And that is 4 evenings with me where I go into different stories and different layers of the spheres of reality, and explaining different levels of contact that I've had. And again, just having kind of a chill talk story time for people to be able to reflect and share their own stories, get to know me. And yeah, so that is going to be the Mystic Transit. And that starts on October 25th and runs, pardon me, I believe, to like November, somewhere mid-November, but that's going to be on Wednesdays. So they're kind of like congruent ways to be able to get familiar with mine and Bella's energy. And all of that is on my website. And I made it a very approachable price for people because I want to share and I want to be fair. And that's just what we do. So it's a very approachable price. And the whole little package deal is going to be available till Friday the 13th, because that's a fun date. And then after that, they will be available separately, but still very approachable. And again, that is at gitarose.com. So thank you, Jeff, for allowing me that.
Sure. Gita, after watching this podcast, people may have questions for you. Are you open to them? And if so, how can they reach you?
That's a really good idea. Thank you very much for that. I am open to questions to a certain extent. You can always book a session with me. Again, gitarose.com. This information is available for everyone, and everyone is able to access it themselves. And again, one of the OG channels says it this way, that I'm the farmer. Yes, like everyone can go and get oranges, but like grow your own orange tree. Not to be, again, like rude about it, but like you're not going to go to a farmer and go, hey, can I have an orange? You're going to go, how much is that orange? You grew that orange. But yes, you can send me some type of dialogue. At my Instagram handle is Gita Rose. That's probably going to be the best place. And my email is on the website. That is, you can, if that feels called to you, you can go and check out the website. I also am offering a sliding scale for my sessions right now, because I know people are up against a variety of different beliefs around abundance right now. And so, yes, gitarose.com, and that is available for people. And it honestly really is my preference that people book sessions with me.
Well, Gita, before we finish up, can you give us one last positive message?
Oh, of course. The reminder again that we are never given anything more than we are capable of. That even when we feel as though we are being stretched and deeply challenged and moving through trauma, that we are never actually giving ourselves more than we are capable of receiving. And that if you've listened to this, if you've made it this whole way, there's most likely a sensation that's occurring. And that sensation may be a little foreign, and it may be kind of like really high and buzzy, and you're like really not quite sure how to interpret it. But there's an absolute integration and positivity that comes from that amount of activation. And that is capacity. And the true beauty comes back into ourselves when we know that we are strong enough, flexible enough to just be in, of, and with that energy, with that voltage, and to not need to define it or classify it, to just allow it to move and ripple through us, and to know that once you get off of this app, or however it is that you're listening, that you're going to know so deeply what your next moment of inspiration and action is. And the more that we feel the ikehu, the voltage, the energy, and get very present in the body, the more that we know our absolute capacity.
Gita, thank you for that message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, sincerely, thank you. And thank you so much for everyone who is listening. And thank you so much for the way that you create this container, Jeff. Is perfect for someone like me that has a lot to say. So thank you. Thank you so much. It was my absolute joy to be here today. And thank you so deeply for being you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.